Okay, let's dive right in. Every single AI system makes mistakes. That's not the interesting part, it's just a fact. The interesting part, well, it's the uncomfortable question we almost never ask out loud. Who pays the price for those errors? You see, that one question has already decided your entire evaluation strategy, whether you know it or not. Every team building AI has picked an answer to this, even if nobody ever said a word about it. And that's the absolute heart of it. We're not here today to talk about math, we're here to talk about values. Because way before any model is trained, a conversation happens. It's a business conversation, right? And it's all about risk, cost, and consequences. So you've got the fraud team in a room and they have to decide what's worse, angering a loyal customer by blocking their card by mistake, or letting a criminal get away with a fraudulent purchase. Someone's going to be unhappy here. The question is, who do we choose? Then you go over to the healthcare team, and the choice is even more stark. I mean, they're weighing the absolutely devastating cost of missing a real disease against the anxiety and expense of a false alarm that scares a healthy person. The stakes just couldn't be higher. And the content moderation team, they live on this tightrope every single day. They have to balance the harm of silencing an innocent person against the harm of letting toxic, dangerous content spread across their platform. There is no easy answer. And here's the catch. If you don't make this choice consciously, out in the open, the metric you choose will make that choice for you. And it's not going to send you a memo. It'll just quietly embed that value judgment into every single decision the system makes from then on. Okay, so let's see how this actually plays out. Because the exact same model, making the exact same kind of mistake, can have wildly, wildly different outcomes depending on the job it's been given. This slide just nails the point perfectly. Look at that. In medical screening, a missed positive, that could lead to delayed treatment, maybe even tragic consequences. But a false accusation in content moderation, yeah, it's frustrating, it's bad for your reputation, but it is a fundamentally different kind of harm. The impact of the exact same type of error is completely defined by the context. And that's because your evaluation metric, it has no idea. It doesn't know if it's looking for cancer or looking for spam. It's just crunching numbers. It is your job, the human's job, to tell it which mistakes are catastrophic and which ones are just inconvenient. So, now that we actually understand the human consequences, now we can bring in the technical terms. But please, don't think of them as math. They are just labels for the really hard choices we've been talking about. First up is precision, and precision is all about the cost of a false alarm. It asks a simple question. When the system decides to take an action to flag something, how often is it actually wrong? So, high precision means fewer false alarms, fewer innocent customers getting blocked. And then there's recall. Recall is the opposite. It's about the cost of staying silent. It asks, of all the things we were supposed to catch, how many did we miss? So high recall means fewer things slip through the cracks, like detecting more actual cases of a disease. Now, you might look at a chart like this and think, oh, a confusion matrix. I want you to erase that from your mind. This is not about math, it's a map of human consequences. Each of these boxes represents a real person's experience. The fraud that got away, the innocent user who was unfairly blocked. So don't think confusion matrix, think consequence matrix. So how do really smart teams get this so wrong? Well, they forget that this choice isn't neutral. They start treating it like it's just another technical problem to solve. So you might see a team, for instance, blindly chasing super high precision for a cancer screening tool. What does that mean? It means the model gets really cautious, terrified of making a false alarm. And in the process, it just misses actual cases of cancer. Or you see the reverse, over-optimizing for recall in content moderation, and you end up harming tons of innocent users. But maybe the most common mistake of all is just grabbing some industry standard metric without ever stopping to ask what values are baked right into it. Because what is an industry standard, really? It's just someone else's answer to our big question, who pays for the mistakes? And that answer might have been perfect for them, for their product a few years ago. But it probably isn't the right answer for you, for your users, right now. This is the point I really want to drive home. The mistake isn't choosing the wrong metric. The mistake is pretending the choice was neutral in the first place. Choosing to measure something is an act of prioritization. It says this outcome matters to us. And choosing not to measure something, that's also a decision. It's a decision that says we're okay with this kind of error happening in the dark where we can't see. So let's wrap this all up and replace that confusion with a clear, responsible way of thinking about this. I want you to think of these metrics as policies, human policies that you enforce on the model. They are your rules about how the model is allowed to fail. And just like any other policy, they get old, they go stale, they have to be revisited when your users change, when attackers get smarter, or when your own business goals shift. This is the reflex you need to build. Every time you look at a metric, you have to ask these questions. Whose errors hurt more? Who gets the angry phone call when an error happens? And maybe most importantly, who are the silent victims? The ones who never even show up in our logs or on our pretty dashboards. This is the story behind almost every major AI failure you'll ever read about. Somewhere, deep in the system, a decision was made about which errors were acceptable. The system didn't fail. It worked exactly as it was designed to. But the design itself was blind to the human cost. But once you accept this, once you accept that you have to choose who gets hurt, a deeper and honestly a much more subtle problem appears. Because even after you've decided which mistakes are acceptable, the story isn't over. In our next explainer, we're going to see why two models can look completely identical on paper. They can have the exact same score on your chosen metric and still behave in wildly different ways out in the real world. Because in AI, you are never, ever just tuning a model. You are always, always deciding whose pain you are willing to accept.